The silence of the Outer Rim Medical Station was broken only by the soft hum of equipment and the occasional beep of monitoring devices. Dr. Noah Graves leaned back in his chair, staring out the viewport at the distant stars that dotted the vast emptiness of space. His fingers tapped restlessly against the metallic desk as he reviewed the day's patient logs, mostly minor ailments from drifters and traders passing through this forgotten corner of the galaxy. Another thrilling day in paradise, he muttered to himself, scrolling through the reports. 6 months stationed at this remote outpost had dulled the initial excitement of practicing xenomedicine. He had treated dozens of species, cataloged hundreds of unique physiologies, but lately, every day felt like a repetition of the last. The doors to the medical bay suddenly burst open with a pneumatic hiss. Noah spun around, startled by the intrusion. 5 tall figures clad in gleaming golden armor stormed into the room, their massive frames nearly filling the entrance. The Exery warriors. Noah recognized their distinct species immediately, though he'd never treated one before. Their golden armor was infamous throughout the galaxy, as was their reputation as fierce warriors. 4 of them flanked a 5th figure they were supporting between them. Blue blood, startlingly vibrant, dripped onto the sterile floor, leaving a trail from the entrance. "Help!" the lead warrior demanded in heavily accented standard. "Now!" The wounded Exery was smaller than the others, more slender in build, but unmistakably of their species. A female, Noah realized, as they laid her on the examination table. Her armor had been removed around a vicious wound in her side, where thick blue blood pulsed from a deep laceration. Noah rushed forward, medical training overriding any hesitation. "What happened?" he asked, already reaching for his diagnostic scanner. "Poison blade," the warrior responded, hand resting meaningfully on the hilt of an energy sword at his side. "Save her." Noah quickly scanned the wounded Exery. The readings were difficult to interpret. Exery physiology wasn't common in Federation medical databases, but he recognized the pattern of a severe toxin spreading through her bloodstream. The wound itself was deep, slicing through layers of what appeared to be dense muscle tissue that had a strangely crystalline structure unlike anything he'd seen before. "I need to operate immediately," Noah said, reaching for surgical tools. "The poison is spreading rapidly." One of the warriors stepped forward, blocking his path. "You know Exery anatomy?" "No," Noah admitted honestly, "but biology has universal principles. If I don't remove the affected tissue and neutralize the poison now, she'll die within the hour." The warriors exchanged glances, communicating silently in a way Noah couldn't interpret. Finally, the lead warrior nodded once. "Proceed." "But we watch." Noah worked frantically, adapting human surgical techniques to the alien anatomy before him. The Exery's circulatory system was more complex than he'd anticipated, with arterial pathways that branched in unexpected patterns. The poison had a fluorescent quality under his medical lights, allowing him to track its spread through her system. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the occasional beep of monitoring equipment and Noah's request for specific tools. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he meticulously removed contaminated tissue and administered a broad-spectrum antitoxin, modified on the fly to match what he could determine of Exery biochemistry. Finally, the monitors stabilized. The blue-tinted skin around the wound had stopped darkening, and the patient's breathing steadied. Noah stepped back, exhausted but satisfied. "She will live," he announced, wiping his brow. "The poison has been neutralized, and I've repaired the tissue damage. She needs rest and time to heal, but she should make a full recovery." The warriors studied him with an intensity that made Noah uncomfortable. Their expressions were difficult to read, their facial features more angular than humans, with bony ridges where eyebrows would be on a human face. "You have done what many could not," the lead warrior finally said. "This is Princess Fina, daughter of King Sovok, ruler of the Exery Empire." Noah felt his blood run cold. He had just operated on royalty from one of the most powerful and militaristic empires in the galaxy. One mistake, and he might have sparked an interstellar incident. I, I was just doing my duty as a doctor, he managed. The lead warrior turned to another. Inform King Sovok. The princess lives thanks to this human. The second warrior nodded and departed immediately. Noah looked down at the unconscious princess, suddenly aware of the gravity of the situation. Her features were softer than the male warriors, with a regal quality even in unconsciousness. He wondered what color her eyes were. You will come with us, the lead warrior announced. Not a question, but a command. King Sovok, want to thank you personally. Wait, I can't just leave the station. I have responsibilities. You have a new responsibility now, the warrior cut him off. The life of our princess is in your hands until she is fully recovered. You will continue to treat her. Noah looked around helplessly. I need to pack medical supplies at least, and inform my superiors. You have 1 hour, the warrior stated flatly. Our ship departs then, with or without your belongings, but not without you. As the warriors positioned themselves around the room, clearly intending to keep watch until departure, Noah felt a sense of vertigo that had nothing to do with the exhaustion of surgery. He had only been doing his job, following the physician's oath to heal the sick, regardless of species or origin. Now he was being whisked away to the heart of an alien empire known primarily for its military prowess and insular culture. He knew next to nothing about the Exery except for rumors and fragments of information for Federation databases. What have I gotten myself into? He whispered, looking at the sleeping princess. Her chest rose and fell steadily, her life no longer in immediate danger. But Noah couldn't shake the feeling that his own life had just become considerably more complicated. The Exery warship cut through space with the silent precision of a predator. From his small viewport, Noah watched stars streak by as they traveled at speeds that made the distance between the outer rim and the Exery homeworld collapse from months to days. He had been given quarters befitting a guest of some importance, spacious by spacecraft standards, with a sleeping area and private refresher, but the atmosphere remained tense and unwelcoming. Noah spent most of his time in the ship's medical bay, monitoring Princess Fina. She remained unconscious, her body fighting off the last traces of poison in her system. The Exery warriors maintained a constant guard, their golden armor gleaming under the sterile lights of the medical facility. They spoke little, and when they did, it was in terse, clipped sentences. On the second day of the journey, Noah found himself alone with one of the younger warriors while changing Fina's dressings. The warrior watched his movements with intense scrutiny. You have skilled hands, the warrior observed unexpectedly. For a human. Noah glanced up, surprised by the comment. Thank you, he replied cautiously. I've had years of training. We have heard humans are physically weak, but sometimes clever, the warrior continued, his tone neither complimentary nor insulting, simply matter of fact. You confirm this by saving the princess without strength, but with knowledge. Noah carefully secured the fresh bandage before responding. Different species have different strengths. Humans may not have your physical capabilities, but we've developed our medical sciences extensively. The warrior nodded slowly. I am Krell. I serve the royal family directly. Noah Graves, Noah replied, though he suspected the warrior already knew his name. Does the princess often face such danger? The wound looked like it came from an assassination attempt. Krell's expression hardened. Our enemies are numerous. The princess was returning from a diplomatic mission when the Korean attackers struck. He paused, seeming to debate whether to continue. You should prepare yourself. Hilaro is not like your Federation outposts, and King Sovok is not known for his patience with outsiders. Before Noah could ask more questions, the medical bay doors opened, and the lead warrior, who Noah had learned was named Tharuk, entered. Krell immediately straightened and moved back to his position by the wall. We approach Exery's space, Tharuk announced. The princess should be moved to her royal chambers for the remaining journey. Noah shook his head. She needs continued medical monitoring. The poison damaged several of her internal organs. I need to be able to intervene immediately if complications arise. Tharuk's eyes narrowed, but after a moment's consideration, he nodded curtly. You will remain with her. But be warned, If any harm comes to her under your watch, your life is forfeit. I understand, Noah replied, though the threat sent a chill down his spine. He was a doctor, accustomed to the weight of responsibility for patients' lives, but never before had his own survival been so explicitly tied to a patient's recovery. Hours later, Noah felt the subtle shift in the ship's engines that indicated they were dropping out of faster-than-light travel. He moved to the viewport just in time to see the X-ray homeworld come into view, a massive planet with swirling indigo oceans and land masses of deep russet. Multiple moons orbited the world, and a network of orbital stations formed a defensive perimeter. Within moments, they were descending through the atmosphere. Noah caught his first glimpse of Hilaro, the capital city, a sprawling metropolis dominated by towering black spires that seemed to pierce the sky itself. Energy weapons were mounted at regular intervals along the city walls, and warships patrolled the airspace. The ship docked at what appeared to be a royal landing pad, distinguished by elaborate markings and an honor guard of dozens of golden-armored warriors standing at attention. Noah remained at Princess Fina's side as a medical hover stretcher was brought aboard. "She is stable for transport," he informed Thurrock, "but I still recommend close monitoring for at least another 24 hours. "You will continue to serve as her physician in the palace," Thurrock replied. "Cool. Noah followed the procession through the ship and down the boarding ramp into the warm, copper-tinged air of Exeter. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth standard, giving him an immediate sensation of heaviness. He tried not to look overwhelmed as they proceeded through the ranks of warriors, who pounded their fists against their chest plates in unison as the princess passed. The royal palace dominated the city center, an immense structure of black stone and gleaming metal, with massive statues of what Noah assumed were legendary Exeter warriors flanking the entrance. Inside, the architecture was both beautiful and intimidating, with soaring ceilings and artwork depicting what appeared to be historical battles. Noah had little time to admire his surroundings before they arrived at a set of massive doors inscribed with intricate patterns. 2 guards pushed them open, revealing a vast throne room. At the far end, seated on a raised dais, was a figure that could only be King Sovok. The Exeter monarch was enormous even by his species standards. His golden armor was more elaborate than the warriors, with decorative elements that seemed to tell stories of great conquests. His face bore the scars of countless battles, and his eyes, a striking amber color, fixed on Noah with laser-like intensity. "Approach," the king commanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. Noah walked forward beside the princess's hover stretcher, acutely aware of how out of place he must appear, a human in a simple medical uniform among the resplendent warriors of an alien court. "You are the human who saved my daughter," King Sovok stated when Noah reached the base of the dais. "Yes, your majesty," Noah replied, bowing his head slightly. "I performed emergency surgery to remove poisoned tissue and neutralize the toxin." Sovok studied him for a long moment. "The Exeter Empire does not forget its debts, human. You have preserved the royal bloodline and saved my only heir. For this, you must be rewarded appropriately." "That's not necessary, your majesty," Noah began. "As a doctor, it's my duty to—" "Silence," Sovok interrupted, not harshly, but with undeniable authority. "It is not for you to determine how the Exeter honor their obligations." He rose from his throne, his massive frame towering over Noah. "The debt of a life saved must be paid with something of equal value. Therefore, I grant you the greatest honor an outsider can receive, marriage to Princess Fina." Noah's jaw dropped. He stared at the king in disbelief, certain he had misunderstood. "Marriage," he finally managed. "Your majesty, I don't." "The decision is made," Sovok declared. "When she awakens, the preparations will begin." A soft voice suddenly interrupted. "Father, I am not a trophy to be awarded." All eyes turned to the hover stretcher, where Princess Fina had partially risen to a sitting position. Her eyes were open, brilliant violet, Noah noted absently, and fixed on her father with unmistakable determination despite her weakened state. "Fina," the king's tone softened slightly. "You should rest." I will not rest while my future is being bartered away, she replied, her voice gaining strength. I am grateful to this human for saving my life, but I am not a prize to be claimed. Noah found his voice again. Your Majesty, I must respectfully decline. While I appreciate the honor you intend, I cannot accept a marriage arranged without mutual consent. The throne room fell deadly silent. The warriors around them tensed, hands moving subtly toward weapons. King Sovok's expression darkened, his amber eyes narrowing dangerously. You refuse the king's generosity? He asked, his voice deceptively quiet. Noah swallowed hard but stood his ground. I refuse to participate in a union where either party is unwilling, Your Majesty. To Noah's surprise, Princess Fina spoke again. The human shows wisdom, Father, and honor in his refusal. She met Noah's eyes briefly, and he thought he detected the faintest hint of approval in her gaze. King Sovok studied them both for a long moment, then let out a sound that might have been a laugh. Perhaps you're not as soft as most humans, Noah Graves. But if you reject the honor of royal marriage, you must prove your worth through the 3 trials. The 3 trials? Noah asked, his stomach sinking. Strength, intelligence, and honor, Sovok explained. The ancient tests that determine whether an outsider may walk among the Exari as an equal. Few attempt them. Fewer survive. Father, Fina protested. He is a healer, not a warrior. Then he should choose my first offer, Sovok replied simply. What say you, human? Marriage or trials? Noah looked at the princess, who despite her objections to being awarded in marriage, seemed concerned for his safety. Then he looked at the king, whose expression made it clear that these were the only options. I will undertake the trials, Noah declared, hoping his voice sounded more confident than he felt. A murmur ran through the assembled warriors. King Sovok nodded once, seeming neither pleased nor disappointed by the decision. So be it. The trials will begin tomorrow at dawn. Until then, you will be treated as an honored guest. He gestured to a warrior nearby. Show Dr. Noah Graves to suitable quarters. As Noah was led away, he caught one more glimpse of Princess Fina. She was watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Part curiosity, part concern, and something else entirely. He had come to this planet to fulfill his duty as a physician. Now back toward a corner of the arena, the creature advancing methodically. With no other choice, Noah waited until the Krager lunged, then dropped to the ground and rolled beneath its massive body, feeling the rush of air as claws swept through the space where he had stood. He emerged behind the creature and sprinted for the center of the arena. The beast spun with a roar of frustration. It charged again, and this time Noah deliberately led it toward one of the larger stone pillars. At the last moment, he sidestepped. The Krager, unable to check its momentum, crashed headfirst into the pillar with a sickening crack. The impact didn't fell the creature, but it left it momentarily dazed. 9 minutes. Noah kept his distance as the Krager shook its massive head, gathering its wits. Blood dripped from a crack in its armored skull, matching the crimson stream running down Noah's arm. Their eyes met across the arena, predator and prey locked in a deadly dance. The final minute seemed to stretch endlessly. The Krager, sensing victory slipping away, made one last desperate charge. Noah, exhausted beyond measure, miscalculated his dodge. The creature's shoulder caught him squarely, sending him tumbling across the sand. He lay gasping for breath, pain radiating through his chest from what felt like cracked ribs. The Krager turned, preparing for the kill. Noah struggled to rise, legs wobbling beneath him. 10 minutes. The trial is complete. A horn blasted, and guards rushed into the arena, driving the Krager back with energy spears. The creature roared in frustration, but retreated under the coordinated assault. Noah sank to his knees, blood and sweat mingling in the sand beneath him. The crowd's reaction was divided, some cheering for his survival, others clearly disappointed by the outcome. He caught fragments of comments from nearby spectators. Only survived by running like prey. Clever, though. Used the beast's size against it. No honor in such tactics. But effective. the human lives when many warriors would not. Medical attendants helped Noah from the arena. As they passed the royal viewing platform, he glanced up to see King Sovok watching him with an inscrutable expression. Beside him, Princess Fina's face showed what might have been relief. Hours later, after his wounds had been treated, Noah was escorted to the Hall of Wisdom for the second trial. The circular chamber was lined with glowing screens displaying complex equations and diagrams. Several older Exari in robes rather than armor stood waiting, their expressions stern and evaluating. The trial of intelligence, announced one of the robed figures. 2 challenges you must face, human. First, solve what cannot be solved. A holographic display activated in the center of the room, showing a mathematical equation of stunning complexity. Noah studied it carefully, recognizing elements of quantum calculus mixed with what appeared to be Exari mathematical symbols he didn't recognize. "This is impossible," he said after several minutes. "The variables cancel each other out in an infinite regression." "Precisely," the Exari nodded. "Now solve it." Noah thought carefully. "If it's designed to be unsolvable in its current form." He approached the hologram and, after receiving permission with a nod, manipulated the display to rewrite the equation. The solution isn't to solve it directly, but to reframe the problem. He worked quickly, translating the problem into a 3-dimensional model that demonstrated why the solution was impossible, and in doing so, provided a meta-solution that acknowledged the paradox while extracting useful information from it. The Exari scholars exchanged impressed glances. "Unconventional," one murmured, "but effective." "The second challenge," announced the lead scholar. "A simulation of choice." The hologram shifted to show a space vessel in distress. "You command this ship," the scholar explained. "Life support is failing. You have oxygen for 20 people for 1 hour, or 5 people for 5 hours. There are 25 souls aboard. Who lives? Who dies?" Noah studied the simulation. "May I see the ship's specifications?" The Exari seemed surprised by the request, but provided access to the simulated ship's schematics. Noah pored over them, focusing particularly on the life support systems. "This is a false dichotomy," he finally said. "By reconfiguring the environmental controls and implementing partial hibernation protocols, oxygen consumption can be reduced by 60%. Combined with rerouting emergency power from non-essential systems, all 25 passengers can survive for approximately 3 hours, enough time for a rescue vessel to respond to distress signals." The scholars stared at him. One manipulated controls, apparently running calculations to verify Noah's claim. "The human is correct," he finally announced. "An elegant solution that preserves all lives. The trial of intelligence is complete," declared the lead scholar. "The human has passed." Noah was escorted back to his quarters, exhausted but pleased. 2 trials down, 1 to go. As he rested, preparing for the final challenge, a servant arrived with a message. Princess Fina requested his presence in the palace gardens. He found her seated beside a fountain, the evening light catching the metallic flecks in her indigo skin. She looked much recovered, though she still moved with careful deliberation. "You are surprising many at court," she said without preamble. "Few expected you to survive the Krager." "I'm full of surprises," Noah replied with a tired smile. "How are you feeling?" "Your recovery seems to be progressing well, thanks to your skills." She studied him for a moment. "Why did you refuse my father's offer of marriage?" "Many would consider it a tremendous honor." "Any marriage should be based on mutual choice and affection," Noah said simply. "Not obligation or political expediency." "An unusual perspective for one who has never lived at court," Fina observed. "Tomorrow you face the trial of honor. It may be the most difficult yet. What does it entail?" Fina's expression grew serious. "The truth, or we'll judge you. It cannot be deceived. 3 questions will be asked, and your answers must be honest, even if that honesty does not flatter you." "I have nothing to hide," Noah assured her. "Everyone has something to hide, Dr. Noah Graves," Fina replied quietly. "Even from themselves." She rose gracefully. "Rest well. You will need your strength." The arena of truth was smaller than the arena of strength, designed for witnesses rather than spectators. A handful of senior warriors and court officials flanked King Sovok and Princess Fina. At the center of the space floated a crystalline sphere approximately 1 meter in diameter, the Truth Orb, swirling with pale blue energy. Noah stood before it, feeling the strange energy emanating from the device. It hummed at a frequency just below audibility, vibrating in his bones. "The trial of honor," King Sovok announced. "3 questions you must answer. The orb knows truth from falsehood. Lie, and you fail." He gestured to an elderly Exery who stepped forward. "First question," the elder intoned. "Why did you save Princess Fina's life?" Noah took a breath, focusing on complete honesty. "Because she needed help, and I'm a doctor. It's my duty to heal the sick and injured regardless of who they are. I would have done the same for anyone who came through my doors in needing medical attention." The orb pulsed, its blue energy brightening slightly. The elder nodded. "Second question. If given the opportunity to leave Exery without consequence, would you take it?" Noah hesitated, knowing his answer might offend. "Yes," he finally said. "Not out of disrespect for your culture or people, but because I have a life and responsibilities elsewhere. I didn't choose to come here. I was brought because of my medical skills." A murmur ran through the assembled Exery, but the orb glowed brighter, accepting his answer as truthful. King Sovok's expression remained impassive. "Final question," the elder continued. "Do you believe yourself worthy to stand among the Exery as an equal?" Noah considered carefully. "I believe worth isn't determined by species or origin, but by actions and character. I'm different from you in many ways, physically weaker, culturally distinct, but I've acted with integrity according to my own principles. Whether that makes me worthy by Exery standards isn't for me to judge." The orb's glow intensified until it was almost painful to look at, then settled into a steady, brilliant light. "The human speaks true," the elder announced. "The trial of honor is complete." King Sovok rose from his seat. "Noah Graves, you have endured the 3 trials. You survived the Krager not through strength but through intelligence. You solved the unsolvable through lateral thinking. And you have spoken truth even when it might harm your cause." He descended to stand before Noah. "By the ancient laws of Exery, you are granted the status of honorary Exery. You may walk among us as one who belongs." Noah bowed his head, recognizing the significance of the moment. "Thank you, Your Majesty." "Further," Sovok continued, "you will be given quarters in the palace and the freedom to come and go as you please, though I ask that you remain as Princess Fina's physician until her recovery is complete." "I would be honored," Noah replied, glancing at Fina, whose expression had softened considerably since their first meeting. As the ceremony concluded, Noah noticed not all faces in the crowd reflected the king's acceptance. Some warriors looked openly displeased, whispering among themselves. The division was clear. Some respected his accomplishment, while others resented an outsider achieving what few non-Exery ever had. In the days that followed, Noah settled into life at the palace. Rumors about the human who had passed the 3 trials spread throughout Hilaro. Some citizens sought him out, curious about his world and customs. Others avoided him entirely. Princess Fina's recovery progressed well. During their daily checkups, she gradually opened up to Noah, explaining Exery culture and politics. "Not everyone is pleased with your presence," she told him during one such session. "The traditionalist faction, led by General Vorn, believes Exery superiority must be maintained through isolation. Others see potential benefits in greater engagement with the galaxy." "And where do you stand?" Noah asked as he checked her wound, which was healing remarkably fast, an Exery trait he found fascinating from a medical perspective. "I believe strength comes from adaptation, not stagnation," she replied. "My diplomatic mission, before the assassination attempt, was to explore possibilities for limited cooperation with neighboring systems." "Is that why you were targeted?" Fina nodded grimly. "The Corians have long been our enemies, but someone must have informed them of my route. The attack was too precisely timed to be coincidence." Noah realized she was suggesting an insider threat, treason within the Exery court itself. His suspicions were confirmed the next day when King Sovok summoned both Noah and Fina to the Royal War Hall, a chamber dominated by strategic displays showing military positions throughout Exery space. "We have intercepted a communication," Sovok informed them without preamble. "A message to the Koreans mentioning you specifically, Noah Graves." "Me?" Noah was stunned. "Why would the Koreans care about my presence?" "The message suggests eliminating you would serve two purposes," Sovok explained, his expression grave. "Remove Fina's healer, potentially compromising her recovery, and erase the stain of a human achieving honorary Exery status." "Do you know who sent it?" Fina asked. "We have suspects, but no certainty." General Vorn tops the list, along with trade advisor Rella and several court officials known for their traditionalist views. "What do you propose?" Noah asked, feeling a chill at being targeted. "You will continue your normal activities," Sovok replied, "but under discreet protection. We must draw out the traitor." The plan was simple but dangerous. Noah would maintain his routine, appearing vulnerable while actually being monitored by Sovok's most trusted warriors. For 3 days, nothing happened. On the fourth evening, as Noah walked through a dimly lit corridor returning from the medical facilities, he sensed movement behind him. Years of working in dangerous frontier outposts had honed his instincts. He dropped to the ground just as an energy blade sliced through the air where his head had been moments before. Rolling to the side, he caught a glimpse of his attacker, a tall figure in military uniform. Noah scrambled backward as the attacker advanced. "General Vorn," he gasped, recognizing the senior military commander. "The human remembers me," Vorn sneered. "Your survival is an affront to Exery tradition. Your influence over the princess and king, corrupting them with ideas of cooperation and weakness, ends tonight." Noah dodged another strike, buying time. "Killing me won't change the direction your society is moving, General." "Perhaps not," Vorn admitted, advancing methodically. "But it will send a message, and your death will be only the beginning." As Vorn raised his weapon for a killing blow, a brilliant energy blast struck him from behind. The general crumpled to the floor, revealing Princess Fina standing at the corridor's end, energy pistol in hand. "Are you injured?" she asked, hurrying to Noah's side. "No, thanks to your timing," he replied, heart still racing. Guards appeared moments later, securing General Vorn, who was stunned but conscious. The general was brought before King Sovok in the throne room, where he stood defiant despite his restraints. "You betray your species, your majesty," Vorn declared. "The Exery conquered the stars through strength and purity, not through diluting our bloodlines and traditions with lesser species. We conquered through adaptation and intelligence," Sovok countered. "Qualities this human has demonstrated in abundance." "The Koreans offered alliance against the Federation," Vorn revealed. "Together, we could have preserved our way of life against the tide of homogenization sweeping the galaxy." "At the cost of my daughter's life?" Sovok's voice was deadly quiet. "Sacrifices must be made for the greater good of our people," Vorn replied, unrepentant. The king stood, towering over the kneeling general. "Indeed, and yours will be the first." He turned to his guards. "Take him to the void chamber. His name will be struck from the records of honor." As Vorn was led away, still proclaiming the righteousness of his cause, Noah felt a complex mix of emotions: relief at the traitor's capture, but also a growing concern about his place in this complex political landscape. The following morning, Noah was summoned to the Royal Council chamber, an intimate space where the king received his closest advisors. To his surprise, only Sovok and Fina were present. "The general's conspiracy appears to have been limited," Sovok informed him. "His closest allies have been questioned and cleared of direct involvement. However, his ideology is not unique within our empire. There will be others who share his views." Noah nodded, processing this information. "I'm glad the immediate threat has been neutralized. What happens now?" King Sovok exchanged a glance with his daughter before answering. "You have proven yourself repeatedly, Noah Graves. First as a healer of extraordinary skill, then as one who could survive our trials, and finally as a target who helped expose treason in our midst. He paused, seeming to choose his next words carefully. I have made a decision that may surprise you. Father, Fina interjected, perhaps we should explain the context first. Sovok nodded his assent. The Exari Empire stand at crossroads. For centuries, we have relied on strength and isolation to maintain our position. But the galaxy changes. New alliances form, technologies advance, and cultures intermingle despite our best efforts to remain distinct. The traditionalists like Vorn fear this change, Fina added. They see only threat and difference. But there are many of us who recognize that adaptation has always been the true strength of our people. Which brings me to my proposal, Sovok continued. I wish to offer you a position on the Royal Council. Noah stared at the king in disbelief. Your Majesty, I'm honored, but I'm not Exari. I know almost nothing about your politics, your history. Precisely, Sovok interrupted. You bring a perspective we lack. Your medical knowledge alone would be invaluable, but you have also demonstrated wisdom, courage, and integrity. These qualities transcend species. Noah's mind raced. The offer was unprecedented, an outsider invited into the highest levels of Exari governance. What would this position entail? You would have a voice in matters of health policy, interspecies relations, and scientific advancement, Fina explained. You would help bridge the gap between our civilization and others. Including my own? Noah asked, suddenly understanding the broader implications. Eventually, yes, Sovok confirmed. Though that is not the primary purpose of this appointment. We value you for who you are, Noah Graves, not merely as a representative of humanity. Noah looked between them, feeling the weight of the decision before him. Accepting meant staying on Exari indefinitely, perhaps permanently. It meant abandoning his career in Federation space, his colleagues, the life he had built. I need time to consider, he said finally. Of course, Sovok agreed. But know this, such an offer has never been made to a non-Exari before. It may never be made again. Back in his quarters, Noah paced restlessly. The enormity of the choice before him was overwhelming. Through his viewport, he could see the sprawling cityscape of Hilaro, alien yet increasingly familiar after his weeks here. Could he truly make this place his home? A soft chime announced a visitor, Princess Fina. She entered at his invitation, her regal bearing softened by what appeared to be genuine concern. You're troubled, she observed. Wouldn't you be? Noah replied. A month ago, I was treating minor injuries in a forgotten outpost. Now I'm being offered a position in an alien government that most Federation citizens have never even seen. Fina smiled slightly. When you saved my life, did you imagine where it would lead? I didn't think beyond doing my job, Noah admitted. Doctors don't consider politics when treating patients. Perhaps that's why you're exactly what we need, she suggested. Someone who sees beings, not politics. She moved to the viewport, looking out at the city. My father was sincere in his offer, but he will respect your decision either way. Noah joined her at the window. What do you think I should do? That is not for me to say, Fina replied. But I will tell you this. I have traveled more widely than most Exari. I have seen how other species live, how they govern themselves. We have much to learn from one another and much to teach. She turned to face him directly. And I would value your presence here, both professionally and personally. The implication in her words wasn't lost on Noah. Their relationship had evolved from doctor-patient to something more complex, respect, certainly, and perhaps the foundation of deeper feelings. The attraction he felt toward her had grown as he came to know her intelligence, courage, and conviction. If I stayed, he said carefully, I would be an outsider for a very long time. Yes, she acknowledged, but not forever, and never, entirely alone. After she left, Noah spent hours in contemplation. He thought of his life in Federation space, rewarding professionally but often solitary personally. He had always been something of a frontier doctor, preferring remote postings where his skills were most needed. Did he truly have more ties there than he could build here? And there was the wider consideration. His presence on the council could help shape Exari policy toward greater openness and cooperation, potentially benefiting millions across multiple civilizations. Was that not worth personal sacrifice? By morning, he had made his decision. The ceremony took place in the Great Hall, attended by the court and broadcast throughout the empire. Noah stood before King Sovok and Princess Fina, dressed in formal attire that blended human and Exari aesthetics, a symbol of the bridge he would become. Before him lay the Stone of Oaths, an ancient artifact said to hold the accumulated honor of the Exari people. Its surface glowed with a subtle inner light, responding to the solemn atmosphere. "Place your hand upon the stone," Sovok instructed, "and speak your oath." Noah did as directed, feeling a strange warmth flow through his palm. "I, Noah Graves," he began, "pledge my knowledge, my skills, and my judgment to the service of the Exari Empire. I will counsel truthfully, act honorably, and work for the welfare of all who fall under Exari protection, regardless of their origin or species. This I swear, until I am released from service or until my final breath." The stone pulsed with brilliant light, casting Noah's shadow large against the wall behind him. When the light faded, a small mark had appeared on his palm, the royal insignia of the Exari, now permanently etched into his skin as a sign of his oath. "Rise, Counselor Graves," King Sovok proclaimed, the first human to serve the Exari throne. The reaction from the assembled court was mixed but respectful. No one publicly questioned the king's decision, though Noah had no doubt debates would rage behind closed doors. That evening, Noah found himself on a balcony overlooking the city. Lights twinkled below as Hilaro's citizens went about their lives, most unaware of the historic shift that had occurred in their governance. Above, unfamiliar stars scattered across an alien sky, reminding Noah just how far he was from his birthplace. Having second thoughts? Fina's voice came from behind him. "Contemplating firsts, actually," Noah replied as she joined him at the railing. "First human on the Exari Council. First Federation citizen to make a permanent home here. First doctor to save a princess and change the course of an empire," she added with a smile. "That remains to be seen," Noah said. "One appointment doesn't change centuries of tradition." "It's a beginning," Fina responded. "Change comes slowly to the Exari, but when it comes, it is decisive." She hesitated, then placed her hand over his where it rested on the railing. "And it helps to have allies." Noah turned his hand to clasp hers, noting how their different physiologies fit together, not perfectly, but comfortably nonetheless. A metaphor, perhaps, for the work ahead. "When my father first offered me to you in marriage, I was furious," Fina admitted. "Not because of you specifically, but because of what it represented, being used as a political token without regard for my wishes." "I understood that," Noah said. "It's why I refused." "Yes, and in doing so, you showed more respect for me than many who have known me all my life." She looked up at him, violet eyes reflecting the city lights. "Now, whatever develops between us will be of our own choosing, in our own time." "I'd like that," Noah said softly. Below them, the city of Hilaro continued its nighttime rhythm. Above, stars marked distant worlds that might someday be allies rather than strangers or enemies. And between them, two beings from vastly different origins stood together, their futures now intertwined by choice rather than circumstance. Noah knew challenges lay ahead: cultural misunderstandings, political opposition, personal adjustments to a world not designed for his species. But he also recognized the unique opportunity he had been given to heal not just individuals, but relations between civilizations. He had come to Exari as a doctor fulfilling his oath to preserve life. He would remain as something more, a bridge between worlds, a voice for cooperation, and perhaps, in time, a true belonging to a place he had never expected to call home. The alien princess whose life he had saved now stood beside him as an equal, a colleague, and possibly something more meaningful in days to come. The king whose favor he had earned now trusted him with the future of an empire. And the human doctor who had once treated minor ailments on a forgotten outpost now faced his greatest challenge and opportunity, helping to guide a powerful civilization toward a more inclusive future. As Hilaro's second moon rose on the horizon, casting its silver light across the city, Noah Graves, doctor, counselor, honorary exery, embraced the path he had chosen and the promise it held for all who would follow.